Hello and welcome back to my basement. This is Jeremiah Wolf. And today I passed the Cisco SD-WAN exam 300-415, and I want to talk about my experience with the exam, what I used to study, etc. So we're going to go through that in this video here. For those of you who follow the channel, I'm not back. I just wanted to make this one video to share my experience, and then I'm going to go away again for a while. Okay, so I took the exam this morning at 5 a.m. The reason I did so early was because I really wanted to take it today, Friday, April the 1st. This is not an April Fool's joke. I really did take it, but I wanted to take it today, and all they had available was 5 a.m. and then like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I usually get up around 4:35 a.m., so by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm getting pretty tired. Starting to kind of wind down a little bit, and the idea of the mental focus required to do an exam really wasn't going to work for me, so I wanted to do it early. My wife was a huge help last night because I really didn't feel like I was ready, and so in the middle of the day I texted her and I was like, hey, I really need you to take care of the kid tonight by yourself. I got to study. There's so much more I got to go through. So thankfully she took care of the kid last night. She wasn't feeling great, but she still did it. And then not only that, but when it was time for bed, she actually set up the couch because she's been coughing it, but she has this kind of respiratory thing that's not going away. Um, I don't know. We don't think it's COVID. We've all already had COVID and stuff. But anyway, so she set up the couch so she could sleep on the couch so that I could have a quiet bedroom. I asked her to sleep in the bedroom just because it would have been weird. And but then, unfortunately, at about 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m., she just started coughing, and so she was up, and then I was up, and so I just got up. So I got up at like 2:30 a.m. this morning. So it's been a long day. It's currently about 4:45 in the afternoon. Okay, so you don't really care too much about that, but I did take the test at about 5 a.m. this morning. This is the 5th or 6th time I've done a Pearson exam online from my home. Every time they've gotten a little more strict. This time their software didn't like the fact that Dropbox was running on my computer. So just an FYI, you have to get your environment completely clear, and one monitor. You're not allowed to have 2 monitors. Nothing within reach, standard stuff. But then their software also freaked out because I was running Dropbox. So I guess I don't know. Maybe you could do like screen captures with Dropbox or something. I guess that's a thing. I don't know. Whatever. So I had to shut off Dropbox. That had never been an issue before. Other than that, if you're not familiar, you should be if you're taking this exam. But if you're not, the check-in process takes about 15 minutes. So they let you check in about a half hour early. They let you check in exactly a half hour early before your exam. So at 4:30, I started the check-in process. By about 4:45, I was actually starting the exam. So I actually started the exam almost exactly 12 hours ago. Once the check-in process was done. So that's it. The exam was 90 minutes. I had 64 questions. Standard Cisco test. Single choice, multiple choice, drag and drop. Nothing out of the ordinary there. I will say this exam was tough. It was tough, man. Like, you really need to know the minutia, and you really need to have done the stuff. Just so many little things that I wouldn't have known if I hadn't like really dug in. And we're going to talk about how I did that, because there really wasn't good study material out there. And the last couple exams I took, I noticed that Cisco's really kind of going really deep. I was talking to my wife today, and I think, back in the day, we used to have more simulations on the exam. And people always ask me when I make one of these videos, was there any simulations? Was there any simulations? So I don't know if Cisco recently stopped doing simulations. I thought they stopped doing it years ago. But maybe they've made the test harder in lieu of simulations, so that they kind of really test your knowledge of all the fine details. So you're going to have to know stuff at a pretty deep level. I would argue that this is something you could do every day and be really good at your job, SD-WAN. And maybe get 50% on the test. So you really got to know those fine details that you're probably not going to encounter day to day. Okay, so let's talk about it. We'll come over here. So here's the test. Like, oh my God, every time I see one of these pictures, I don't know if it's the angle, the poor lighting, the fact that it's 4:30 in the morning, but wow, do I look that bad? Oh my gosh. Anyway, I passed. But there's no score. I thought that was really interesting. I can't remember the last test I took. Was there also no score? I don't remember. No score. It's been a while since I took a test, just because if you don't know my situation, kid, lots of problems with his health and stuff. In fact, in just a little over 2 weeks, he has 4 surgeries scheduled in one day. 4 surgeries, one day. Oh, this poor kid. But it's kind of really taken over every aspect of my life for the past year and a half now. So my studying has been really slow. Here's how I did. I think I'm happy with how I did. Couple 100%, did good on router deployment. I knew that I wasn't particularly strong in security nor quality of service, so this does not surprise me. I'm really surprised. I mean, 78. I guess it's not bad. But I would have expected to do better with controller deployment. So I'm really, man, I wish I wish I could know what I missed, But anyway, so there's my score, or ish, passed. Okay, so let's talk about the tools I use to study. First thing, of course, is the Cisco study guide. It's a good book. There's a lot in there, and you're really going to need to know it all. So, in the past, I have told people, like, don't worry about taking notes. Cisco tests are at a place now, maybe they've always been there, but I don't know. I didn't feel that they used to be, where you need every single little detail. If you're given a timer, you better know it. If you're given protocol, name, number, you better know it. In this exam, you need to know the hardware platforms, like the model numbers. You need to know the potentially the software for the KVM if you're virtualizing things, like which version, stuff that to me, I think, well, you're always just going to look that up anyway. This isn't something you're going to do day to day. Like, some people would know this stuff day to day, but most people are just going to go look it up. So why should you be tested on something that you're just going to look up anyway? Cisco apparently has a different opinion. So you really need to know everything in this book, and you just do. I hate saying that. Like, it'd be so much easier if I could say, well, don't worry about this section, don't worry about that. No, you got to know it all, and you got to know it in depth. And just in case you're aware, Cisco Press, sign up for their mailing list. Oh, there's all my personal emails there. Sign up for their mailing list. They often have 50% off, 40% off, like all the time. So it's almost always a better deal to buy directly from Cisco Press than even from Amazon. I also use, whoa, that's dark. I got to apologize for the lighting. I just wanted to set up I was doing a quick video. I didn't set up any lights or anything. And if you've ever filmed videos, you know how important lighting is. I have like a reflector. I got special lights that I do just for doing like stupid little videos. I didn't do any of that today. Anyway, so CBT Nuggets, I did their course. It is 18 hours long. For some reason, it says I have 6 minutes remaining. I don't. I've done every single video. Something in their system. I think because I went back and rewatched a couple videos, it messed something up. Whatever. Okay, I'm going to be straight. This was a waste of my time. This was a huge waste of my time, except for the portion on setting up your lab. That portion was very good. You can find that information in other places, written and video form on YouTube. So if you don't have a CBT Nuggets, do not get it just for this. If you're the kind of person that you have to learn through video, I guess get this course. But here's my thing about this that I'm going to tell you about the CBT Nuggets. Let's put a little more light up here. Let's go to something with a white background. Oh, it doesn't have a white background. Shoot. Well, anyway, here we go. There we go. It's a little bit better. Okay, so if you are if you're learning this stuff for work, if you're learning this to do it on a daily basis, this course is really good. You're gonna do this course. If you follow along, if you set up your lab, follow along when you can. You're gonna take away from this. It's gonna be good. If you're doing this for the exam, it's not really going to help you on the exam. If you've already read the book, you're going to have way more knowledge than, maybe it's helpful to have someone do it for you. But again, you need to lab. Maybe I didn't say this already, but for this exam, you must have a lab. My opinion, but you're going to have a lab. So again, CBT Nuggets, and it's a little frustrating because they say, this is a course for the exam. But this course does not prepare you for the exam. And I have to say, this is, again, my opinion. I could be entirely wrong. There's 3 guys doing this course. Jeff Kish, Keith Barker, and Knox Hutchinson. And I got to say, I don't think, at least at the time that they made this course, I don't think these guys had taken the exam. And the reason I say that is because if they had taken the exam, I think that the course would look very different. It is my, I suspect that they got online, looked at the exam topics, put the course together based on that without actually taking the exam, because they don't go into the in-depth that you really need. And, they don't really give you pointers like, hey, make sure you know this for the exam. And I think a good exam-focused course should do that. If you've had 3 people who took the exam, then they're going to sit down and be like, oh, okay, we really need to make sure to hit this because this is something that came up for me. Did it come up for you? Yeah, okay, we're going to need to hit this. And they're going to tell you, hey, you really need to pay attention to this. We've seen it on the exam. They don't have to give away, any specifics, but I think they should say oh, hey, look, policies, they really hit policies on the exam. They really hit something as minor as, if you have a single set command versus multiple set commands, how does the output look in the CLI? Did you know to study that? Would you ever know to study that? Well, there's a specific question on the exam that, as far as I could tell, based on the output, it's testing whether or not you know what it looks like with one set in a policy versus multiple set statements. So I didn't even know that. I had a guess because I've seen it both ways. So I think I got it right. I don't know though. I guess I did really good on the policies section, so maybe I did get it right. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling because I was very unhappy with the CBT Nuggets. If you don't have it, don't buy it just to get this course. And I don't think those guys took the exam. The other thing I would say about CBT Nuggets, it just grates on me. They're this super high energy, hey, welcome to CBT Nuggets. All right, guys, this is what we're doing this time. Aren't you excited? Aren't you happy? Let's get going. Whoa, dude. Okay, we're learning detailed technical stuff. Let's have a conversation between technical people. What is this Disney, everybody's so excited about, I'm so excited about teaching you this thing, guys. It's come on, man, come on. You look exhausted by pretending to be excited all the time. It shows in your videos. I don't believe you're actually this excited. And it grates on me. So, I don't know. Maybe you're the same. Maybe you love that. Maybe you love that fact about CBT Nuggets, that they're always just so upbeat. But whatever. In my opinion, the only thing, I'm going on and on about this, the lab setup is good. Now, we need to talk about their lab setup. They get to it pretty quick. I thought it was right in the beginning. Oh, here we go. Build the practice lab. So they get to it pretty early on. I think you're only maybe an hour into the course when you get to the lab. Keith Barker walks you through the lab. This is pretty good. Like I said, you can find this information on other places, but this is pretty good. There are a couple significant problems with Keith's lab. One, just so if you follow along, keep this in mind. One, he will take you through at later toward the end, actually. Well, maybe halfway through, 2/3 of the way through. He's going to take you through setting up your device list and downloading it from Cisco. As part of that, you need an organization name. That organization name is going to be on Cisco's website and in your lab. They need to match. The thing is, this name is globally unique in the whole world, globally unique. So you have to pick something that nobody else picked. And Keith Barker doesn't tell you that. So you've already put potentially a couple hours into your lab. When you finally get to the point where you're on Cisco's website, the whole time he's like, okay, we're just going to use, I forget whatever he said, just like my lab or something. I don't know, whatever the organization name was. So you just been following along. And if you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just do that too. Why not? I'll just call it my lab. Then you get to Cisco's website. You're like, okay, organization name, my lab. Sorry, not valid. It's already being used. And then I had to go back and change that on all my devices, which ended up not being a huge headache. But I had already created all my certificates and everything, so I had to recreate all the certificates, rename all my device or reconfigure all my devices. So it wasn't. I mean, I guess it was good from the standpoint that I got to do all that stuff multiple times. But keep that in mind. The other thing, and I forgot to search for this. C-Edge deployment guide. So the other thing is, when he's walking you through, is this it? Onboarding deployment guide. When he's walking you through the C-Edge portion of it, you get to the final step, and he says, okay, well, sometimes they don't sync up with the vManage for some reason. He says sometimes it takes 10 minutes. He says sometimes it takes a couple hours. I've had to reboot all of my devices, and then sometimes it'll... No, he's wrong. And it took me a bit of experimentation to figure out what he was doing wrong, but he was wrong. So first off, you need to follow the Cisco SD-WAN onboarding guide. Go get it, download it, follow it. Follow it step by step. He's missing one important that seems to make a difference. Sometimes it works without it, but sometimes it seems to only work with it. And that is the very first step. You need to disable the P&P service on the router. And that's in the deployment guide, but he doesn't cover that. The final thing is, once you've gotten all the way through the initial setup, just the basic onboarding, and vManage sees your device, but it's not syncing up. And you can see that in the show. What is it? It's SD-WAN local policies. I'm missing something, but it won't be syncing up. And what you need to do to get the certificates all aligned is you need to push your initial configuration from the vManage. So even though you're not synced, you still create the feature template, device templates, push them to your C-Edge. Once it does that, as part of that, it seems the certificates get all figured out, and then everything's good. But you need to do that initial push. And you might think to yourself, well, how can I do the initial push if they're not synced up? Well, once they sync up after you do that. So he doesn't kind of go over that, and I don't really see anybody else doing that. But you run into problems if you don't do that. So there's an important little bit about the lab. Speaking of the lab, here is my lab. Now, again, on the CBT Nuggets, if you're following him, he walks you through doing a very basic lab. So it's, I think it's this basically straight out of how he did it. Your controllers, and then he had like 3 sites. I think each with one edge device. I wanted to do more, so what I wanted to do was, if you've looked at the book, there's a lot in the book about policies. Like almost half of the book is about policies. Excuse me. And when you very first start doing policies in the book, it shows you a topology, and it says we're going to use this for the rest of the book for all the policy stuff. So I wanted to mimic that. They had 2 data centers with a high-speed link between them, Europe sites, North American sites, and then so I kind of copied that with the multiple sites. I did an MPLS network where I'm actually running routing. The Keith Barker thing, it's all default routes, but you run into some things you can't test if everything's default routing. You kind of need to do an actual routing protocol, so that running OSPF in my MPLS network. And that was also really good because when I'm doing like here, yeah, so like at this site and this site, yeah, this site where I'm doing T-lock extensions for the MPLS, I also had to figure out how to handle the routing so that we can get to the other router, because it's a new subnet, right? So so that was good. So I learned some stuff doing that. So I tried to make this a significantly more complicated. The one thing that I never got around to doing that I really probably should have was to do service chaining with a firewall. I meant to get around to doing that, and I just didn't. And then I was running out of time, and so I knew I was gonna. If that came up on the test, I wasn't gonna do great on that. So I read up about it, but I didn't practice it. So it's the one thing I didn't get around to doing. Yeah, so this lab is a bit more complicated. Now, a couple other things about the lab. So I'm doing this in ENSDWI. Don't ask me where the images are. If you have access to Cisco, you can get the images. If you have Cisco's modeling labs, you can take the images out of there and convert them for ENSDWI, or just I'm not sure if that's true for everything. They're out there, right? They're out there. Like, use a little Google foo. It won't take you long. So a couple things about this in ENSDWI. So I'm using ENSDWI Professional. I have a proper server running, and I will say that my server uses almost 500 watts with all this running. Although it's not a whole lot less without it running, but it's almost 500 watts. So that's about $45 a month on my electric bill. So I was shutting this off if I knew I wasn't going to be touching it for a day or two. And ENSDWI just seems to not do well with that. Even if I went through and individually shut down every device, and then as opposed to doing like the, where's it at? More actions, stop all nodes. If I actually logged in and shut down every device, and then, and then I'd shut down the server, and then when I would bring it back up and start up all my devices, inevitably something would be hosed. So I had a lot of issues with the ENSDWI networks. For whatever reason, they would just break. I have no idea why. I mean, it's a virtual connector. There's no brains behind it. This is my internet. So I had multiple ISP A, B, and then 5G, and they all connect on this, and my own home internet, all connecting here so that I could actually get out to the internet through my lab. But yeah, sometimes these networks would just break, and I would one day I spent like 2 hours troubleshooting. I was just banging my head, like, well, I can't. What is wrong? And then finally, I was just deleted the network and recreated it, and everything just started working. That was annoying. And then, like, the most recent time I rebooted this device right here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. For whatever reason, it's working now. Was that the one that was not working? Let's find out. Hey, let's do a quick little test. Nope. What did I want to do? This guy. All right, who was it that wasn't working? Whoa, what is going on? Everything's down? What? That's fascinating. Huh. So this is great. This is what I'm talking about with this Eve stuff. Like, literally yesterday, there was one device that was down. One. And it looks like he's not on the list right now. Everybody else was up. So something happened. I have no idea what. And it was just sitting here doing nothing. I haven't done anything. So something weird is going on. So I'd have to troubleshoot that. But I highly recommend don't shut off your Eve lab if you can. If you can just leave it running, leave it running. I recognize that's not always an option. But I had some weird problems. I had some devices that would get they would get hosed, and I'd have to wipe them and restart from scratch. I don't know why, um, but I will say that the lab was just so important. I spent a lot of time in this lab, and I think it made a big difference for me. Okay, let's talk about some other tools I use for studying. NetworkAcademy.io, just sort of kind of came across this while Googling, trying to find specific tidbits, looking for a specific problem I was trying to troubleshoot or whatever. They have a whole course on Cisco SD-WAN, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I didn't do every single aspect of this course, but I went through a bit of it. Pretty good. I would recommend, in fact, if anything, I would actually recommend this over CBT Nuggets. They might even go through setting up a lab in here. Maybe not. Yeah, home lab. So they actually go through setting up a lab. So, yeah, I don't even think I would worry about the CBT Nuggets at all. Now, okay, so this is the standard stuff. We got CBT Nuggets. We got the study guide. We got this online course free, completely free. Really nice. But here's where things get tricky. You're going to have to read documentation. There's just no way around it. There's just too many detailed minutiae that Cisco's asking for. The Cisco Design Guide, it's 100 pages, well worth reading. This Cloud Scale Architecture Guide, 216 pages. You're going to have to read it. Policy Configuration Guide, 268 pages. You're going to have to read it. And then I also recommend coming to the Cisco SD-WAN documentation and picking up some other things to read. Like, for example, I think there was at least 1 or 2 questions about NATing on the exam, direct internet access with NAT. High availability, redundancy. I know there's some questions about that. There's definitely some questions about security stuff. So you're probably going to have to go through and read a lot of this stuff. So this is actually a fair bit of reading. This is not a test that you're going to knock out in a month. Once I was kind of read through everything and was getting ready for the exam, I came over to Pearson. So with the book, with the book, yes. With the book, you get the practice test. So I came in here and I did the practice test and the chapter review questions just to do them all. And let's see how many there are. So it's a total of 246 questions for you to do. There was some value in doing these, but not a lot. Not a lot. People often ask me with my review videos on exams, like, did you do the test that came with the book? And I've always said they're garbage. Don't do them, to the point where I don't even look at them anymore. But there's no practice tests out there. There's no practice tests for this exam. There's what do you call them? Dumps, cheating. You can cheat, but there's no like good practice test. So I did these. It was the best I could find. Unfortunately, it's not really valuable. I wouldn't spend too much time. It's probably worth going through to give you a rough idea about where you're strong and where you're weak. But the test goes into a level of detail far beyond this stuff. This is almost a waste of time. This is where you got to spend your time. Was that it? Yeah, okay, so I think that's pretty much everything. In summary, this exam is tough. You're going to have to spend a lot of time reading documentation. The CBT Nuggets, I do not recommend other than the section about setting up the lab, but there are other resources for that. The networking, what's it called again? NetworkAcademy.io is pretty good. Check it out. And read documentation. That's about it. Yeah. All right. Well, I hope this this helps you out at all. I wish I could tell you some if you just really spend some time studying this, you're going to pass the exam. It's not how it works. But hopefully you get something good. This is pretty long. Okay, hey, I've been Jeremiah, and I'll see you when I see you.